Hey everybody, Riding Side Saddle, we're back.
Lisa
And Tammy.
And Mary.
Yay, it's our first book club.
Club night.
Yay.
How exciting.
This is exciting.
So exciting. I just got to move around a little bit.
I swear I'm staying so still.
So we're in our recording studio and it's in Wisconsin and it's winter and it's cold.
Yeah, like January cold.
Very cold.
And we had to take our coats off in the cold car because they're too swishy.
And Lisa has like triggers around swishy winter jackets.
Right. So if you hear swishing, that might be why.
It's Mary.
Because
It's
Mary,
me. Yeah, it's
Mary
all
didn't
me.
take her coat off because she's wearing a
I'm
t-shirt.
so cold.
Lisa just has to get through her triggers.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll manage it. I'll observe those.
We'll be all right. Yeah, be
triggers.
an observer, Lisa.
Yeah.
You can sort that out later. Today, we're talking about our very first book club pick. I know, it's exciting. You Are a Badass. How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life by Jen Sincero. I always say it wrong. Sincero.
Yeah, I only remember it because she said it in the audio
Oh,
version.
you listened to the audio version.
I did listen to the audio. It helps me because I can do it when I'm driving.
Yeah.
And I fall asleep when I read, right? I do it right before bed. I'm tired.
Yeah.
But when I read or listen to a book, it helps me a lot.
Gotcha. That's a good way to get some book time in when you don't have the time to commit, or like you said, it just puts you to sleep.
Right.
And not because it's a terrible book.
No.
But you're just tired.
That's the period of time where I would read it.
Yeah.
And it would be I wouldn't
It's
have it
just too
done by
late.
now.
The end of the day is here. It's too late. So I stumbled upon this book a couple of years ago, maybe even more than that. I was using my library app to find a book to listen to, and at the time I was commuting over an hour each way to and from work, and so I like to listen to books in a car ride, much
perfect.
like what you were saying, right?
Yep.
It helps fill that downtime, doesn't feel quite so wasteful, it's entertaining. And I stumbled upon this book. It was one that was just available to check out right away. And I remembered really liking it.
She is awesome.
She is.
Yeah, she's
Yes.
So she narrates the Audible book
She does.
herself, which is, I mean, that's a talent all on its own. I have listened to books where the author narrates their own book, and it's not always great. So not everyone is a narrator. She is a terrific narrator. So if you are feeling like you would like to check it out, but you maybe don't have time to read it, or you don't really love to read, but you would like to listen, this is a good one to listen to.
It is. And I feel I haven't listened to a lot of books that the author narrated for, but I feel like that her narrating her own book brought across the level of enthusiasm or the intentionality that she really hoped for in writing the words.
Yep, the jokes are jokes.
Hilarious.
They're not dry. They're not delivered so dryly that you miss the joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can't go wrong either way. Whether you read it or you listen to it, you can't go wrong. So to prepare for this book club, I read it. So I listened to it once before a few years ago, and then this time I read it. It was equally good, reading it or listening to it. So I have, I don't know, probably 50 flags, Post-it notes.
1,872 flags.
She is
I know. And it wasn't even like, oh, I have to find something to talk about. It wasn't even like that. It was just like, oh, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I felt that. And so I put a flag.
I found that too. I found that the more, like, as I was reading it, something would just pop out.
Yeah.
And I had to highlight it or make a note of it because I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that before. And it kept happening throughout the whole, every part that I read. I only read half of it. But the half I read was excellent.
It was so excellent that it made up for the whole book's worth of excellent.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, the half I read, I came prepared.
Well, let her rip then. What do you got?
This might have to be a 2-part book club review.
So I can finish reading the other.
And because it's so good, we might want to get deep in a couple of topics here. So
Agree.
yeah. But generally, one of the things that I really loved about this book, so each chapter has some action points at the end. I don't know, 5, 6, 7 action points.
Yeah.
The last one is always love yourself.
It is.
I loved that.
It is.
At first I was like, yeah. Love yourself. Yep, sure.
I felt the same way.
And then I got to page 200 and it really hit me. I started crying. Love yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest. When I listened to the end of each chapter, that was one of the things that stood out for me too, right? For everything that she speaks about, one of the core fundamental pieces is that you love yourself. And in every one of them, including up to page 200 and beyond, I heard it. I recognized it. And I'm like, yeah? And how do you do that? Like,
I think by following all of the action points above that, that's how you love yourself.
I was waiting. Honestly, I was waiting for the last chapter to be specifically about like
how to love yourself.
How to love yourself. I've said this for every chapter up until this point. And these are some of the things that you can do to love yourself. And I was waiting for that. And I'll be honest,
So
I was
a
a little
let down.
A little bit and I feel a little bit let down individually.
Yeah.
Because I know that I have a hard time loving myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's
a lot of women do.
an
say
issue
you're
with
not
a lot of women. I don't know that.
It is.
You know, for you, it might have been like, well, yeah, of course, that's the key ingredient. Love yourself, so I'm going to. And I'm like, okay, yeah, of course, that's a key ingredient. But how do you?
Yeah. Do you think that is maybe she didn't get too deep into it because it's a very individual thing? How I feel love and how I show myself love might be different than literally everyone else.
That, so of course I analyzed it, right? Like at the end, Mary's laughing. Lisa analyzed something?
Dig away, Lisa, dig away.
Right. And I suppose if you looked back at the chapter and what it was specifically talking about, the definition of loving yourself in relation to that chapter might be a different message than the next chapter or the chapter following that or the chapter following that, right? Like it was a relatively vague sentiment, but it needed to be personalized to the chapter. I don't know.
See. Yeah, I guess I didn't think that deeply about it.
It's okay.
So because it's unique to each chapter individually and each individual, it's not something maybe that she can just globally say, and here are all the ways you should love yourself or could love yourself, maybe.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And honestly, you know, as part of self-reflection and as part of like taking the steps at the end of each chapter, you know, to follow through with some of those action points, maybe it is sitting down and being able to, I don't know, I write, right? So like maybe it would be sitting down to say in this chapter, what does it mean to love myself? And write that out or think that through or process that.
Could it even be something as simple as just taking one action point from even one chapter and following through on it?
I don't know that you could go wrong.
Right?
Right. Like literally you can't go wrong with the actions that she has listed here.
Yeah. And another thought is the fact that she'd repeated it after every chapter.
How important it is.
And just the simple love yourself.
Yeah.
And I think maybe, and obviously I don't know, but maybe the intention was just to have that idea planted, the seed planted.
The affirmation.
You know, the affirmation.
I love me.
Because it, like, after the first couple, I didn't really notice it. Yeah. And then after a while, I was like, oh my gosh, this is every chapter. And then I was like, okay. And I loved, like, then getting to the end of the chapter, I got excited because I was like, oh, it says love yourself. I was like, oh, yay. Like, it was like really great. It was,
Could it also maybe be giving you permission to love yourself?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. do that very good. Women are really not good about that.
That's why I don't know how.
Right, right. Because it feels selfish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So she's giving you permission.
I'm jumping around,
yourself.
right? I'm for sure jumping around, but the things that stand out for me, just from a love yourself perspective, is the chapters in which she talks about, like, making sure that your relationships are whole and healthy, and for those relationships that are not, that the best way to love yourself is to cut those relationships out. So yeah, it is unique to each chapter and each person. I think it would require a lot of in-depth self-discovery.
For sure. Well, so again, just a general kind of overview. This book, in large part, is about how to create your ideal life. And maybe not ideal, that's probably too strong of a word. How to create your life in the way that you want your life to be. So I once heard someone say something along the lines of, success is creating a life you don't need a vacation from. It's that sort of thing. Creating the life that you want.
Right.
Creating the life that makes you feel whole and happy and successful, however you define those things. Loved and safe, all of that falls in there. She goes into some manifestation techniques and envisioning the life that you want and really focusing on that. There's some like daily affirmations and mantras and, this is my new motto kind of thing, to really focus on that. So you continue to focus on moving forward toward creating the life that you want.
Agree. And to your point, whatever it is, whatever greatness means to you, right? It may be losing 10 pounds. It may be not losing any weight, but, going and having nature walks 3 times a week. It could be leaving your corporate job. It could be going on 4 vacations in a year. It could be like getting the fancy car that have always been interested in. All the way up into like, I'm changing my entire life, right? Right? I'm changing my entire life to focus on what it means to make me feel great, my greatness, my badass place.
Yes, I agree with all of that. It is, I think, intended to teach you how to be big. If that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
just
no matter,
be big.
no matter
Embrace
what it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
Right. However you define big.
Yeah.
Think big. Dream big. Yeah.
So because I did the audio version, I did not put 800,769 Post-it notes
I didn't either.
in my book.
50, Lisa.
So help me through here so it jogs my memory.
All right. Well, so I guess my first flag is in the introduction. I got in there right away.
I got in there good.
I did.
Yes.
You did too, Mary?
I did too.
It's not just
I had
me.
to. Yeah.
Flag happy? Yeah. So again, it's the introduction. It's not necessarily about making millions of dollars or solving the world's problems. She's not even saying that, there has to be a dollar amount attached to your dream being big. I mean, if your dream is to be a millionaire before you're 40, that's great. And she goes into ways that you can help yourself create that life for you, reach that goal. But it doesn't have to be about that.
Right.
It really could be something as simple as just taking care of your family or growing the perfect tulip.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's really about getting clear, mighty clear, about what makes you happy and what makes you feel the most alive. Then creating it instead of pretending you can't have it. So it's about removing all of those roadblocks, all of the can'ts, the shoulds, I don't have, I won't have, I'm not going to be.
Right.
Yes. When my kids were growing up and they would, like not just kids do, but people do. Oh, I want that. And I'd say, you know what? Our last name is not Rockefeller.
Right.
We can't afford that. I said that for the whole time my kids were growing up, Erica is 30, almost 34 years old. So,
yeah.
Guess what? All that time I was reinforcing my shortage mentality, my lack mentality.
Right.
That's where I focused, instead of saying something like, that's a really great goal. Let's figure out how we can earn that, or make enough money, or how we can, achieve that.
And it's interesting. So very similar on the same vein. I have said my whole life, and I truly believed in the core of my soul, I want that. I have to work really, really hard to get something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that too is a shortage mentality. Like, you don't get something because there's abundance in the universe.
Yes.
You get
It
something
doesn't come to you easily
based on how hard you work for it.
Yes.
And if you don't work hard enough for it, you don't get that.
Right. Right.
I remember my youngest daughter, she has her eyes just in the stars, and always has. For as long as she could, for as young as she was when she started imagining what her life might look like, right? She lives in California. She has a mansion. She has people to do her things. She is famous, and she has a home for me there. Right? It's not a room in her home. She has a home for me.
You can have the guest quarters. The little cottage.
Not even. Like, it was like a mini mansion. Yes.
Oh.
And it took every bit of me. Like, at that point, she was like 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 years old. It took every bit of me to not say, what the hell are you thinking? Like, you can't have that. How are you going to get that?
Yeah.
And I deliberately bit my tongue. Not that I thought she could, but I didn't say it. I didn't say it because who am I to tell her what she can and cannot do with her whole damn life?
Yeah.
Like, why would I be the one to crush that? Did I think she could? I mean, like, reality speaks sometimes, and, I felt like the answer was no, but I wasn't going to say it. I mean, I would have gladly. She told me that she would fly me there.
Oh, she had it all worked out.
She did. She had like all the logistics worked out except how to fund it.
Yeah. Oh.
So my lack mentality was in my head, but I couldn't allow myself to crush that for a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and an 8-year-old. Because who knows? Like, who knows? Who knows?
She might have gone. Yeah.
Right.
That's a very brave thing to do as a mother, to bite your tongue. Because
I don't do it well.
for my
But that time I did.
Yeah. No, from my personal experience, not that I would change it because it has made me who I am today, but unfortunately, there was always a lack of abundance in my home. And it was very often talked about. And when we were at the store, it was always a no, we don't have money, or no, you can't have that. Or it was just a lack of positivity and like the idea of having it. It wasn't there. That was not there. It was just no, because we don't have XYZ. And there was nothing being changed about it either. It was just consistently no, because we don't have money, or no,
But my kids would ask for things at the store, like kids do, right?
Sure.
And I would say things like, "Well, that's not on our list. We can't buy that today." Or that's real. I can see you really like that. Put that on your Christmas list. Put that on your birthday list.
Yeah.
Which is, it's
different.
the same result, but it's a little bit different. It's just a little shift,
It
and that's
sends
what this book
energetically
talks
differently.
That's what this book talks about a lot. I think is just making a little bit of a shift. Yeah. So instead of saying no, you can't have it.
Right.
Well, we can't have. Like, that's not on our list today. That's not what we're here for today. It doesn't mean you can't have it. It just means it's not for today.
Right.
Yeah. And I love this. So it says in the book, most people are living an illusion based on someone else's beliefs. And I think that ties in perfectly with what we're talking about.
It really does. And honestly, that transcends generations. Right?
Oh, gosh.
So, I grew up in a household where, it was very realistic and it was very factual. And so some of that mentality came through. But my parents were also raised in a environment where, they didn't have money to be able to spend on those types of things. So it built their concept of what is attainable and what is not. It built their
That's their
concept
belief
of abundance. Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It built their concept of abundance. So it comes from generation through generation, and it builds and it refines and it confirms that level of understanding and belief.
So funny enough, the next flag that I have
Go figure.
talks about that. It says, our subconscious mind contains the blueprint for our lives. It's running the show based on the unfiltered information it gathered when we were kids, otherwise known as our beliefs.
Yeah.
Right. Our subconscious mind doesn't think about anything, but it is in control. Think about that. Your subconscious mind doesn't think, but it's in control. So all of that information you gathered as kids, that your parents gathered when they were kids, that they passed along to you, that you've passed on to your kids, all of that is stuck in your subconscious somewhere.
And it just is.
Right.
It is not
You don't
confirmed.
think about it.
It is not validated.
No.
It is not logical. It just is.
It's not something you think about because it's in your subconscious. But it is in control of the way you live your life.
It reminds me of
and the way you think.
Yeah, it reminds me of a cornerstone.
Oh.
Like if you're thinking about a building, if that cornerstone is corrupt in some way, no matter how well architecturally everything else is built on top of it,
If that's crooked, it's all crooked.
it is going to come down.
Yeah.
Right? It is not going to be solid.
Right.
And it is like the cornerstone isn't, it's the foundation.
Absolutely.
Everything
And that's
else
what
on it
those
can be perfect.
subconscious beliefs are.
Yeah,
They're all foundational.
right. And no matter what logical blocks you put on top of it,
Well, the logic is still being controlled by the subconscious beliefs.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if the cornerstone, if the subconscious belief, which is the cornerstone,
Yeah.
is corrupt in some way,
Yeah.
no matter how logical or
No.
perfect every block is that's put on top, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like that's going to be crashing down
Absolutely.
because the cornerstone
Right.
is
You're never
is
going to
corrupt.
you might get the building to 3 stories, but you're not going to get it to 5 stories.
you're not going to get it to where it could be.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's exactly
Yes.
what I'm saying.
Yes.
Right. So it encourages small thinking, small living, small dreaming. Because that cornerstone is limited.
Right.
Right. Because your subconscious beliefs are limited. Therefore, your dreams are limited.
Right.
Your thinking is limited. Your life is limited.
Right.
Yeah.
Woo.
That's big.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That's big.
I was like, whoa.
So we're on chapter 1. That's chapter 1.
Okay, keep going. I'm scared now.
This is definitely going to be a multi-part
It is.
book club, I think. Yeah.
Well, chapter 2, if we're moving chapter by chapter, chapter 2 is my favorite
What
out
is
of
it
the
called?
half of the book. It's called the G
The
word.
G word.
Ooh.
And she talked about God
Yeah.
Yeah.
and a higher power. And I loved that. I'm very spiritual, and not everyone is, but she really encouraged people to think about a higher power, which was really a beautiful thing. And she even listed off all the different names, because you don't have to call it God.
Right.
And just her funny names for it, like, really cracked me up.
The mother load is one that I remember.
Yes, I highlighted that one. I was like, that one's so funny. But I also highlighted out of this chapter relationship with God, or with that higher power, or that energy source. And that's what really stuck out to me. And that is how I have been able to grow as a woman and as an individual on my self-care journey, has been from a higher power.
Yeah.
So,
that is
and
beautiful.
it's not the same for everyone, but that was my journey. So I could relate to that, which is really great. So
That's awesome.
That is pretty cool. I highlighted, it's maybe a little bit more woo-woo than that, but the universe will match whatever vibration you put out, and you can't fool the universe.
Yeah.
So you can think that you are really believing I can have that fancy car. But if your belief system, that, undercurrent is
That
like,
cornerstone.
who the hell do you think you are,
Right.
fancy pants?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The cornerstone.
Right.
Right.
You let those gremlins in.
those demons.
Yes.
Shoo.
That.
Yeah.
So she goes on to say, this is why when you're vibrating at a high frequency, awesome things seem to flow to you effortlessly, and you seem to stumble over the perfect people and opportunities all the time, and vice versa. So when you're at a low frequency, when you are listening to the gremlins, things don't go your way, everything goes wrong, nothing can be right, that sort of thing. But when you're like, you know what? All that other stuff was just a bunch of baloney. I'm going to start looking for a new belief system. All of a sudden, people start showing up when you need them to.
Yeah.
Opportunities show up. Things like that.
Go ahead.
Apparently Albert Einstein said this. Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. Which I thought was kind of cool.
Well, we always say there's no such thing as a coincidence, right? Because it's always divinely guided.
Right.
Right.
And so I think it's saying the same thing just in a different way,
It
right?
is,
So
yeah.
when we have these coincidences and we have a word that we can attach to that, right?
Correct.
That's all fine and great, but it's really God's way of showing you that he's here while still remaining anonymous.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, so when you talk about like what you attract based on your level of vibration,
Yeah.
that sometimes gets to me from a perspective of it's really hard to grasp that. It's very abstract. So I envision it from a perspective of a magnet. Right? If I'm in the place where doom and gloom is going to happen,
Yeah.
I am magnetizing my environment around me to gravitate more gloom and doom to me. And in fact, every fucking time it happens.
That's
and
what
I'm
you
like, okay, go figure. What else is coming? Well, phew, just like that, another magnet.
Oh, you want more of
towards
that,
me.
do you?
Right. I learned that. If you're vibrating at a higher level,
Yeah.
right, and you're in a positive place and you're in a place of abundance and good things are happening, well, that's what you're going to magnetize more of. Like, it can't not come to you. It cannot not come. And what a glorious place emotionally to be.
It is.
Like, I'm just going to walk down the street
have
and
to
this
try
shit's,
so hard.
this shit's just going to come to me. No matter if I like it or not, it's coming. I mean, I like it, so let it come. But I don't have to do anything, and this shit's coming right at me.
Right.
That's
It
awesome.
doesn't feel so hard, right? It feels being well supported.
I feel like, why do we make it so hard?
why do
Yeah.
we make it so hard? Because we have free will, because we think we're logical beings,
Because
right?
maybe our belief system doesn't
That.
align with it,
That.
right? Right.
Who are you
Right.
to expect all that good stuff? You're so greedy.
Or you couldn't possibly.
Yeah.
Who do you think
right.
you
Who do you
are?
think you are?
Right.
You're not really
We don't-
that smart. You
we don't
can't go
do
to
it that
you can't
way.
go to college. You're not that smart.
We don't do it that way. Good things don't come that way. To the point of what I said earlier, you have to work really, really hard to get things like that.
Ugh, that feels heavy.
It does.
And yucky.
Right.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, at least this is how it was when I was growing up. I felt that I wasn't allowed to enjoy my life. Like, I had to work a certain job, and I had to work 40 hours a week, and I had to do X, Y, and Z in order to survive, but there was no pleasure. There was no enjoyment. There was nothing that I could do for me, especially as a woman.
Yeah.
And where I fit into society, women are often the caretakers, the nurturers, the ones who take care of the house.
So if you have time for fun, you probably haven't done all your chores.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's icky. It's icky, but I loved that this book reinforced the idea of enjoying life, even the simple things like growing a tulip or wanting to save for a car. It gets you excited about something, and it's exciting, and you're supposed to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And life was not meant to be icky all the time. Like, yes, crappy things and shitty things happen to everyone, but we're also supposed to enjoy life.
Yeah.
Like, being alive is supposed to be an enjoyment.
Otherwise, you feel hopeless.
Yeah.
I mean, really, what's the point, right? I mean, so along those lines, what occurred to me when you said about growing the perfect tulip or buying that fancy car, it's not even really the thing. Right? It's not even really the end goal. Well, yes, that's exciting, but once you get there, you're like, oh, okay, so now what?
Well, you're always looking for the next thing.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why it brings me to the idea that maybe it's the journey that's the exciting part. The thing is a vehicle. That's just a reason.
Yeah.
But the journey is the exciting part.
It's how the heart feels while doing whatever it is that you're doing.
And being in a place of allowing the universe to bring you all of these delicious things that you're wanting and being surprised and delighted along the way. You get things, I don't know, my experience anyway, is that when I'm in that place, things come to me from places I would never have guessed.
Agree.
I might have a list. This is what I want. This is my perfect tulip. And then all of a sudden, something totally out of left field shows up, and this is how you get your perfect tulip. I asked for all of these things in that tulip, and this thing that I never thought would come from way over here suddenly is coming from over there. I would never have looked over there.
Holy fuck, I got an orchid? Oh, I love orchids.
Not only a tulip, but I got an orchid too. And I got it from somebody that I would never have thought I'd get an orchid or a tulip from.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So, I don't know, what chapter are you on?
2.
You're in chapter 2. All right.
Chapter 2. Let me see.
So what do you have? What do you have
I didn't
marked?
have any in chapter 3. Did you?
Yeah,
That was a really short chapter.
Yeah, it was short. I just highlighted the little, we would be wise to take more of our cues from the beasts of babies. I thought that was silly.
Interesting.
And I think that was along, if I remember right, along the lines of like children, they just like they find joy in everything they do, right?
Yep.
Everything is new and wonderful and surprising and delightful.
And instinctual.
And that too. Yeah.
It just is so natural, like the curiosity.
It's just easy. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Being curious.
Yes. They're not overly logical about it. They don't have predetermined like results that they're anticipating.
Right.
They don't have like experiences to play off of in most times.
Right.
Yeah.
They're fun. They're free. They dream. They are, they believe in things that aren't believable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I don't know if it was in that chapter or not, but she talked about like believing in Santa Claus.
Yeah.
In that, like if you can invoke that level of belief.
Right.
Like some fat old man is going to fly through the sky and shove his big fat ass down your chimney to give you presents all in one night. And everybody in the world, if you could believe that, like,
Why
can
can't
you
believe
imagine
you can
that?
have a car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you deserve
Or your favorite
happiness,
job,
greatness,
your dream job, or right,
whatever it is.
Yeah,
Whatever you
your
want.
perfect tulip.
Right.
Yeah. Did you have anything before that?
No.
The next chapter 4, is called The Big Snooze, which I love. I love that a lot. The Big Snooze. So apparently Kurt Cobain,
Yeah.
rest in peace, said this. Wanting to be someone else is a waste of the person you are, which goes to my motto, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the big snooze. It operates according to your limiting false belief. which is why it's just so boring. Like it's your ego. The big snooze is your ego. It keeps you small. It keeps you in that safe place where you think, I guess it goes to that cornerstone piece, right? Like your ego is small and it keeps you there and it keeps you safe. Just like that cornerstone, your building will be fine to the third level. Don't get bigger than that because that's too scary. But it'll be pretty solid to the third story.
Do you know, I think it was in this chapter that I started realizing that this fear mentality, it is from the most, I don't know if that's the right word. It is from a really good place. It is from a place of caring. And I have done this. I have had it done to me from the best place. I have done it to my own children from the best place, right? If you stay small enough, you will be safe. And I don't want you to experience hurt. And I don't want you to experience disappointment. And I don't want you to fall down and be unsuccessful. And looking at it through that lens, it is fear-based. It absolutely is fear-based. But I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it is from a place of love.
Sure.
Because in a place of protection.
It's your comfort zone.
Be safe. Mm-hmm. Be wild.
But not that wild.
But be safe.
Don't be like 4-story wild.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I've done that. I've done that
absolutely.
to myself.
Absolutely.
I've done that to my children. I've done that to people that I love. Okay, let's think about this. What are the things that could happen bad here? Like, we don't want to go that far.
Yes.
So pull it back a little bit. Let's play it safe. Like, maybe we can go, but, like, have those bumpers on the side so you don't get hurt. Mm. I'm not saying it's right. Mm-hmm. I'm saying it has come from, and it does come from, a place of caring.
It does. But your true self, your higher self, she calls it your superhero self.
She's a risky bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. Your non-big snooze.
She is.
Your non-big snooze self is part of you that operates according to your connection to source energy.
That.
Yeah.
So the disconnect is what makes us fearful of the risk we're taking.
Which is why it's fear-based.
Right.
Even though it comes from really a place of love, it's still fear-based.
Yes. Agree. I totally agree. Mm-hmm. I'm just I think it would be easy to imagine, like, God damn it, nobody ever let me spread my wings and fly. Those fuckers. And that's not where it came from.
Well, right.
Necessarily.
Because that is where you end up in that spot. It's when you are seeking validation from outside sources. When you are seeking validation from your own self, from inside, you don't care what anybody else said about your wings. Mm-hmm. You open those suckers and you fly. Ooh, that was pretty good.
That was good.
Whoa.
I've got, how many more do I have? I just have one more.
876.
I just have one more. Oh, I have 2 more flags in this chapter.
All right, let's hear it, girl.
Yeah. And there's one thing that I highlighted one thing at the very end.
Okay, no, go ahead.
So at the very end of this chapter, it said, stop at nothing. And I just, stop at nothing. Have faith and trust that your new life is already here and is far better than the old. Hang tight if the big snooze pitches a fit, because it will. Whatever happens, stay the course, because there's nothing cooler than watching your entire reality shift into one that is the perfect expression of you.
Oh,
I love
beautiful.
That.
Oh,
I think
those are some big wings.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Colorful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. So the fear mentality that we were talking about, and you kind of project it outside of yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I was raised this way. I grew up this way. This is the way society tells me to be. Mm-hmm. And I do it to myself. And I think that in that quote that you have from the end of this chapter, it speaks to, regardless of society, regardless of the parents that I had, regardless of, the town that I lived in, at the end of the day, that fear, it comes from within me, and it is going to cause a ruckus. Like when I start breaking free and opening up my wingspan, it's going to say, ho, ho, girl. Like, that's too much.
Might have a couple of kinks in there that need to get worked out.
Like, you're being unsafe.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw all of this shit at you when you start opening your wings. And I'm going to remind you about how unsafe that is.
Yeah. That's really true. One of the things I highlighted sort of along those lines is that taking great leaps of faith is labeled as irresponsible or selfish or insane.
I've actually been called most of those words.
Have you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Today, in fact.
Yeah. Today, actually.
Well, that's because that watching someone else totally go for it can be incredibly upsetting to the person who spent a lifetime building a solid case for why they themselves can't.
Yes. So,
Which then gets to the, who do you think you are?
right. If I can't do it, why would you imagine you can?
Right. Right.
It's interesting. As you're talking about this, Tam, I'm remembering in season 1, I think it was episode 2, season 1, when we were talking about intuition. And we were talking about those signy signs and, how you kind of logic past them. I can't possibly do that. And you said in that episode, my left brain is so developed. Right. And like, I logic this and know that and have
solve here. Yeah.
Well, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what you're talking about here.
It is.
And the opposite of
Right.
where we're supposed to be going.
So follow the license plate, I think is what she's saying. Go for it.
Go for it. You crazy bitch.
And if you don't know what we're referring to, you should go back and listen to that episode.
Yeah.
Episode 1.
Episode
season
2.
1. Episode 2, season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting
Gosh.
because our society encourages everything that this book is discouraging.
We live in a fear-based society that loves to get all uppity toward people who wake up from the big snooze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
There is a lot there. I have one more flag in that chapter, the big snooze chapter. I honestly, like, we're 40-something minutes
we're gonna
in.
have to.
I don't know how we're going to get anywhere through all these flags. So if we want to skip ahead, that's all right. We can't talk about every single point that I flagged because this will be a
7,624.
It's not that many, but it might turn into like a 12 episode book if we don't just move right along. So, I don't know. Let's see what chapter 6.
Oh, I just popped to that one too.
Oh, well, I think
All
we're
right.
supposed to talk about that. Love the one you is.
Love the one you is.
Yeah, that. That's the name of the chapter.
Yeah, I like that it just bulleted, like, do things you love, appreciate how special you are. Oh, that one. Oh. I don't think people realize, like, it's okay to take up space. Like, recently someone said that to me because I was going through something and they were like, it is okay that you are here and that you are taking up space.
Yeah.
Like, you are valued and you are special.
I don't know who said that to you, but you should hang on to them.
Oh, I am. They're great.
That's good.
That is good.
Because we don't hear that enough. We don't hear that we
don't.
are special. We don't hear that we're loved or that we matter because there's a lot of us here. There's a lot of people on this planet and each of us are special. Each of us
Uniquely.
are uniquely.
Absolutely. No one else is you.
Yeah.
Just you. Yeah. I flagged several things in this chapter too. So after appreciate how special you are, she talks about drowning yourself in affirmations, do the things you love. And it doesn't have to be something giant. It can be spending the afternoon with somebody that you laugh with, right? that's something that you love to do, then just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like another one was Let Love In, or Let the Love In.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one was good.
Mm-hmm. This one, too. Ditch the self-deprecating humor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do that.
I mean,
I
I
do
think
that a
we
lot.
all
We
do
all,
to
I was going to
some
say we all do.
extent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying,
But so once in a while, it's funny. It's the incessant.
it's almost though, it's almost though even the once in a while thing, because what you're saying is coming to fruition.
Well,
It's
that's
just
true.
like an affirmation.
It
It's
is,
the
isn't
opposite
it?
of an affirmation.
Right.
So if you're willing to say, I am whatever, whether it's positive or negative or
Yeah.
something that you used to be or are working on or want to be, you're bringing that into reality
Yeah.
by your words.
Well, right. She talks about how you're begging people to think you're a loser. You're begging yourself to think you're a loser. It's like hitting yourself over and over with a crowbar. That's what self-deprecating humor does to your psyche, to your,
And your subconscious. You're whittling away at that
Absolutely.
cornerstone. Youch.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not helping anything.
At all. At all.
Yeah.
She also talks about don't compare yourself to others, which, we all know is my favorite thing. Because comparison is a thief of joy. Just stop doing it. It's hard to do. It sounds
I
really
was just
simple.
gonna say it's very
but
hard.
it is hard to do.
Yes. Agree.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's the next chapter. I know you are, but what am I? I love that. Some of this stuff is like from when you were a kid. I know you are, but what am I? Yeah. You're fat and ugly. I know I am, but what are you? Yeah. So she talks about how just don't waste your time giving one single crap about what anyone else thinks of you. What other people think of you is none of your gall dang business. Even if they choose to tell you
Yeah.
what they think of you, it's none of your business.
Yeah. This actually ties into chapter 9, the loincloth man. That was my favorite chapter.
Oh, fun.
I literally wrote, I want to be like him.
Fuzzy nappy hair running through the
Yes.
canyon.
Oh, yeah, that
with
guy.
Yes.
I forgot about that
I think
guy.
it was like
It was the shortest chapter. It was literally 3 pages.
Oh, I might have passed it already.
Yeah, no, it was just like, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks on your journey. Like, you can be doing the craziest, weirdest thing. Like, you could make weird art and who cares? If you enjoy doing it, who cares?
Who cares?
right.
And sometimes it's okay to just do something for that reason.
Yeah.
You just enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
Not because you're going to get something for it, not
Yeah.
because someone else will like it, not
Yep.
because of any reason other than you enjoy it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Why are you doing that? Because I like it.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. There doesn't have to be anything more.
Right.
No.
I enjoy it.
Right.
Period.
That's
done.
Right.
Imagine if you said that to somebody who was maybe someone who's more critical in your life. And they're like, why are you doing that? Because I like it. Oftentimes that's the end of the conversation, right? What are they going to say to that?
Right. Okay, good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't understand it. That's okay.
I
You
didn't
don't
ask
have
you
to.
Right.
Right. I like it.
I like it.
Yeah. Makes me happy.
Right. Right.
Period.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I have highlighted, it's in a different chapter. I'm really bouncing around, but it ties in. It all kind of worked out. It says, make doing the things you love a priority. And that ties in perfectly. Make
Sure
it a
does.
priority.
Right.
If it brings you joy and fills your heart, wouldn't it be at the top of your list?
It should
I
be.
hope so.
Yeah.
Also easier said than done.
It
isn't
is. Yeah. It is easier said than done. When I have time for.
Ugh. Well, that's a shortage mentality,
Right?
right?
Yeah.
That's yucky.
It is.
I don't know that we're going to get much further in here.
So where did we leave off?
I'm
Sorry.
on chapter 11. I don't know. Where are you?
Yeah.
Around in there? Your brain is your bitch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's leave. Let's end with that one. That feels like a good
All
one
right.
to end with. I have to see what my flag is talking about here. If I remember right, essentially it is you control your thoughts, not the other way around. So your brain is your bitch, not your brain's bitch.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think actually that ties into this observation of emotion concept that we've been talking about in some of our most recent episodes too, right? If you can separate yourself from your thoughts,
from your emotions,
and your emotions,
yeah,
your thoughts and your emotions don't necessarily, like, they aren't equal to you. They are a product of you.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that you have that you can separate from yourself and observe and evaluate and manipulate, perhaps, right? Because that's what affirmations are all about.
Yeah.
If you develop an affirmation that is positive to circumvent a fear-based or a subconscious belief of yourself,
mm-hmm.
right? Then that changes your brain. It changes your brain into what you want to believe about yourself as opposed to what was programmed already.
So what she says right along those lines is, to think what you want to think is to think the truth. Doesn't matter what your reality looks like in any moment, because where you desire to be is the truth. The whole truth, nothing but the truth. And if you fixate your mind on this truth, believe that it is real and already here, and take decisive action, it will manifest itself.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So she then goes into talking about how we often have to, like, we need to see proof before we can believe something, mm-hmm. right? So I want to buy that house, but I don't have enough money. So I need to have the money so I can believe I can buy the house. Mm-hmm. But what she's saying is, the moment you have the audacity to start believing in the not yet seen, your reality will begin to shift.
So this is where I have to share the story about when we purchased our house.
Oh.
And we've been in our house for almost 8 years. And prior to buying our house, my husband had forwarded me a link to the house, and it was
the listing?
Yeah, it was, thank you. It was the listing. And I spent probably 6 weeks looking at that listing and poring over all of the details and every picture and putting it into my brain. And I loved this house. Before I set one foot on the property, I was like, this is my house. Mm-hmm. Like, I envisioned myself in the kitchen. I envisioned myself in the yard based on the pictures. And there's one particular spot in my house that in my living room, I would daily, incessantly, like a crazy woman, I would look at this picture and I would envision my furniture in the living room, and I'd be staring at this particular portion of my house, and I felt it. And when we went to see the listing in person, I was like, well, so this is a done deal. Like, this is my house. I was scared to death, of course, because it was at the very high end of our price range, and we were moving from a condo to a property in the country, and there was a lot of upkeep and a lot of requirements. But I was still like, this is done. This is mine. And I visualized for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I truly believe to this day that the universe set that in motion at the point in time that I started seeing myself in the house before I actually set foot. Now, again, very similar to a previous chapter, it threw a few things in there to be able to say, are you sure? Are you willing to do this? And are you confident in that? And have you thought about this? And I'm like, I don't care. This is my house. And it is.
And it is your house.
It is.
That's a great story.
Yeah. But it's to that point.
It is.
My brain was my bitch because I'm like, I don't care what you say.
I don't care what reality says.
Yeah. This is at the top of my price range? Yes. Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Will my parents hate this house because it has so many things it has? to do
because there's a lot of work to
fix
do.
it.
Yeah.
Yep, they'll hate it. What am I going to do? I live in a condo and now this is a property with acreage. Okay, it's still my house. Mm-hmm. Like there's no question about that. Mm-hmm. I've seen myself there.
Yeah.
My brain was my bitch.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that too.
Thanks.
That's a great story. We're going to end on that note, I think.
Okay.
It's not going to get better than that.
Not tonight.
Not tonight. Not tonight. Anyway, I don't even know if we're halfway through the book. Maybe halfway-ish.
About.
Close.
Yeah, roughly halfway.
We're close.
All right, so we will pick up again in another episode. We'll finish the rest of the book. This is just our very first book club.
Trying it out.
Yeah.
Episode. So
as we post this, please feel free to add your own thoughts and your commentary and information. Add it to, YouTube or the platform that you listen to us
Facebook or
on.
whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. We'd really like to hear your perspective as well.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for following along. I hope you are enjoying the book. We all actually really loved it.
Yeah.
So we definitely have a lot more to talk about. There are so many good things in this book. Good takeaways and action steps and things like that. So I guess till next time.
Till
Thanks,
next
Todd.
time.
Thanks, Todd.
Bye, guys.
Thanks,
Mind
listeners.
Garden Media.
Bye.
And listeners, bye.
Bye.